Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Box Score Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and on today's YouTube clip, we are going to talk about the Detroit Pistons going up in the second round against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Before I give my thoughts, two things. Number one, let me know in the comments down below who you have, how many games, and why. That's the first thought. The second thought, if you'd like a little bit more in-depth of a conversation, me and Clint, my normal co-host, we will be doing a podcast on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning that I will have out. You can go check that out. We're going to talk about the last series that the Pistons came back from and the Cavs won their Game 7. And we're also going to go a little bit more in detail of this series, along with, we're going to call it first round roundup, where we're going to do some awards. We're going to talk a little bit about the first round, some lessons we've learned as well. So go check that out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Here are my quick thoughts on this series. Let's first talk about how we got here. The Cavs. Cavs got here beating Toronto in Game 7. It was funny. I think it was, they had the same amount of total points leading up to halftime. It was like 700 or something, I think, in Game 7. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And then the Cavs kind of just put their foot down in the second half and ran away with the game. And Cavs, you know, there was a couple things very impressive. Jared Allen, Strus, and Mitchell. I just thought Strus's defense was very important in the second half, and you know, Allen was just a beast. And he has those games, man, where he reminds you the kind of center he is. It isn't always easy for him to do, I think, with the double big and whatever. But really great way to end the series for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Here's a couple pros from the series. I already talked about Strus's defense, especially that last game, and Mobley and Allen. Mobley got going towards the end of the series, and I just felt like they need him to be a little bit more assertive if they're going to plan on making a real finals run, going from this round to the next round and then to the NBA Finals. Mitchell, always consistent, always good. We'll talk about one concern I have with him. But the one thing I love about Mitchell is he doesn't like back down from the moments, even though he's not as efficient as maybe some of us would like him to be more efficient. Hey, at least he keeps attacking. He keeps getting his numbers, and he is just relentless, and I like that about Mitchell. Here's some cons. One thing is Mitchell's three-point shooting was down in this series. It was like 33%. And I don't think the defense that they're going to be facing is going to be any easier coming into this round. So we'll see if he improves on that or if that continues to be a trend. James Harden is another con. The last two games, he shot 8 of 23. He was 35 and 33% from the field with a total of 12 assists to 6 turnovers. That's rough. So Harden, but this is what we've come to expect from Harden. But I think if you're going to make a real finals run, so it's not just this round, but really next round in the finals run, you really need Harden to kind of step up in these big moments. And he's getting older, so he didn't have it when he was young and athletic. I just don't know if that's going to be good for the Cavs. What I will say is the Cavs are talented enough, as they showed in this series, and I think other series will maybe see it, is where they can overcome maybe the lack of clutchness, if you will, of James Harden. And the other thing I said was a con. Raptors didn't have Ingram most of that series, and quickly all of the series, and it took you 7 games to beat the Raptors. Raptors are a tough team. They're physical. They play good defense, but I don't know how they were able to win every single home game against the Cavs when you consider like the talent disparity between the two teams. Scotty Barnes was a beast. I get it. There was some players that showed up for the Raptors, but this is not a team that you would think the Cavs would struggle with without Ingram and without Quickly. How did the Pistons get here? Well, the Pistons had their own struggles too. Trust me, as a Detroit Piston fan, I went to Game 2, which was awesome. That was the one where they had the 30-3 run. It was really fun to watch. But they have had their struggles. Like, they barely came back against the Magic, and we can even argue the Franz Wagner thing. You know, Magic fans will say, hey, I don't know. I'm not going to say they wouldn't, but hey, it's hard to argue when you missing one of the better players that we would have came out of that series. That's every playoff run. You get these like little things that help you get to the playoffs. But regardless, it took the Pistons 7 games to get out of that series, and it took them coming back from a historic coming back from 24 points down, right? Like, so that's not good either. But they managed to get into the next round for the first time in since like 2008. So congratulations to my Detroit Pistons, right? Let's talk about some pros. Asar Thompson, huge pro, 16 blocks, 16 steals in that series. He is a defensive menace. Harris, last 3 games, 30, 22, 23 as far as points goes. They're going to need that coming down the series. And Cade Cunningham, this is sort of like his coming out party in my opinion. Down 3-1, he averaged 36 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists off of 52% shooting from the field and 61% from 3, averaging 6 attempts a game. So Cade was on fire when the Pistons needed him the most. Cade, future reference, maybe game 6 we can show up a little bit earlier so us Piston fans didn't have to sweat that out. Here's a couple cons. Duran was kind of a no-show. I think like it's a little overblown because he was there defensively. He's still a physical presence, but his offense, man, he's only 22. So just like that's something I kind of continue to try to remember is he's only 22, but that he didn't turn 25 in the matter of a week. So it's still going to be a problem for 22-year-old Duran. He's got to be more physical, especially going up against the bigs. Stewart played 8 minutes the last 2 games. He had more personal foul than points. And I think it was like 2-0. So not good for the Pistons if Stewart is going to be struggling. I wonder because game 4, I think he like looked like he hyperextended his knee. And then when you look at game 5, 6, and 7, it's just like he hasn't been the same since that game when he had 8 blocks and like his knee went backwards a little bit. I do wonder if he's going through some sort of injury. I don't know, but that's my cope right there. Jenkins was another con. He had a good couple last games defensively, but offensively he just looks so wild at times, and the Pistons kind of need him. So I don't know. We'll see about that. One other thing about Asar too is he's being more used on the offensive side of bringing the ball and initiating offense, and I think that's good. Okay, matchups. Looking forward to in this series, the bigs are the big matchup. I think Stewart, or whether Stewart or Paul Reed and Duran versus Allen and Mobley, I think that's going to. I personally think that's going to kind of decide the series because of how valuable each of those bigs are. Cade. Not Cade, sorry. Yeah, who's guarding Cade? That's right. I'm not sure. Is it Merrill? If you're a Cavs fan, let us know, me as a Piston fan, who do you think is going to guard Cade? I don't think it's going to be Harden or Mitchell, so it's got to be Merrill. And how are you feeling about that matchup? I think Cade will probably feast a little bit on that one. And then I'm also interested to see who Thompson guards. So Thompson, when he guarded Paolo, Franz, Bane, and Suggs, there was a stat going out there. None of them shot over 40% when he was the closest defender, and most of them were like sub 35%. So who's he going to guard? Are they going to start him on Harden and affect the initiation of the play for the Cavs, or is he going to guard Mitchell and try to slow Mitchell down? I think I'd put him on Mitchell, but I think that's going to be a fun matchup to watch if they do put him on Mitchell. X factor, Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris still has to be aggressive and try to score the basketball for the Pistons if the Pistons are going to be successful. Now, he had some mismatches this last game. He had Paolo on him. He had Suggs at times. He had Bane. Mobley is a different animal. Mobley is a beast on defense, and that's going to be a struggle, I think, for Harris, but Harris, or I should say more challenging. I don't know if it'll be a struggle, but definitely more challenging. So we'll see how Harris does. And for the Cavs, I put Harden. Harden, this is a get right series for him, especially if Asar is guard, like Duncan Robinson might be on Harden. And he might actually cover Merrill, but it's still like this is a series for Harden to get right and kind of exercise some demons, right? That I think he's the big X factor for them. The thing is Harden could struggle, and the Cavs still are a very talented team and could win. So my prediction, Cavs. I have the Cavs in 6. I know I'm a Piston fan. I love the Pistons, but I think the last series showed us some big warts, I think, for both teams. I think the Cavs are talented enough to get over their warts. I think the Pistons are a very talented team, but they just lack the offensive talent that if the Cavs go on a shooting spree, I don't know if the Pistons could match it. I don't think it's going to go to Game 7. The Cavs haven't won a road game yet in the playoffs. If it goes to Game 7, I would pick the Pistons, but I think it's going to go 6. and I think the Cavs win the series in 6. But it's still a great year for the Pistons. I know Piston fans will probably hate me, but Clint, my co-host, who's a Milwaukee Bucks fan, he did pick the Cavs in 7. So that's what I have for my predictions. That's my thought on the series. Let us know in the comments down below what your thoughts are. And again, if you want a little bit more of a breakdown, check out the podcast. The link will be down in the description below. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed, and let's go Detroit basketball. Prove me wrong, right? Detroit versus everyone, including some of its fans. Okay, we'll talk to you guys real soon. Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.